Last week I did a video about a legacy effect that we have in the Helix, and it was the tube comp, and I did a full dialing in video about it, and that got me thinking it would be fun to do a video talking about my top 5 Line 6 Helix legacy effects. There's some real hidden gems in there, as I had mentioned in my first dialing in video about it, and I thought it might be really interesting to some folks who maybe don't think of looking in the legacy effects, or aren't even maybe aware they're there, or maybe just don't go into some of the more maybe quote unquote obscure effects that are in there. So without further ado, here's my top 5 legacy effects that we have in our Line 6 Helix, in hopes that this can spark some creativity in folks that didn't realize some of these effects were there. So coming in at number 5 is the Legacy Tube Comp. This is what I did my video about last week, the full dialing in video. And if you notice here, if we come over to Helix Native, which I'm using today, if I turn the tube comp off, I end up with this tone here. By adding it back in, it's acting not only as a compressor, but also as a boost for the amp. And it really can act as a beautiful clean boost or overdrive pedal, also giving us the ability to compress the sound and smooth it out in ways that we may not have been able to do with a normal overdrive pedal. So for anybody who's interested in learning more about that, I'll put the link below to my dialing in video from last week, which was featuring the tube comp. The attack synth. You might wonder what the attack synth is. Well, according to the Line 6 model gallery for these effects models, the attack synth is based on the Korg X911 guitar synth, modeled after one of the waveforms in the X911 along with some of the wave shaping functions that are found on the original. I really like effects like this. I do a lot of studio work, I do a lot of composing, and little things like this can really be game changers when trying to add some certain elements to a mix that may just sit underneath the mix and act as glue or just act as a sweetener. So you can get some really interesting sounds out of this. Whether we were to use it all by itself like that, or even use the mix control to blend it with our lead sound so that we can then maybe get some kind of blended synth leads. So really interesting stuff can be had when messing around with this. Lots of control that I'll try to go into in another later video. The Synth String effect. The Synth String is based on the Roland GR700 guitar synth. Your filter modeler's synth string model is based on one of the sounds of the GR700. This is really neat. This is similar to the attack synth, but with a much smoother sound to it. much more like maybe a string section or a violin type sound would go. So I would use this in the same way to maybe layer it underneath other components in a mix to just add a certain weight or quality to it. But very, very useful. And again, there's a lot of functions we can use. We have an attack control on these. If we wanted to gently swell in, or we could have it track our leads quite nicely. Maybe not designed for that fast of playing, but you get the point. We can do a lot of various things with it, and a very cool thing to have built right into our Helix. Very useful when composing or just trying to come up with a different sound. Again, we can blend that in with our original tone. The Growler. Line 6 says the Growler is the R700 meets Tron 3. Very, very cool effect. Fun to play little leads with. And again, we could blend that with our, original lead sound. If we just want to add another element, and even if we go down quite low with it, it can still add a certain quality to our lead tone. That we can blend in and just add a real interesting quality to our sound. The Tron Up. The folks at Line 6 say the Tron Up is inspired by the Tron 3 envelope follower in the up position. Part Ottawa, part triggered filter, it's all about wacky. And I would tend to agree, I really love this tone, and you get some sounds out of this that are very similar to a pedal I had years ago called the Robo Talk 2 by Exotic Effects, I believe it was. Very cool stuff. Obviously not going to be used for everything, but it is a very useful effect if you want some inspiration for new rhythm sounds or new lead sounds. And it's a lot of fun and a lot of tweakability on it as well. Again, we could blend it in. Using the mix control. Or even a little less than that. Just depending on how much you want, but there is something kind of fun about this on 100. Lots of fun. So I'm going to try to do dialing in videos for a lot of these individual effects later, dive more in, show what they can do. But for today, I just wanted to throw those out as my top 5 favorite legacy effects. Some wacky stuff in there, but some very useful stuff. If you're into composing or production work where you do need something different than just a guitar tone and you don't want to go searching through maybe virtual instruments and whatnot, there's a lot of stuff hiding in our Helix that can really add a lot to a production. And I thought it would be kind of cool to point those out. And probably a ton of folks who know those are there and have used them. But for those that don't, I hope that was a little bit of an insight into maybe getting you to explore some sounds that you wouldn't have thought of doing. So anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and please give those a try and let me know how they work out for you and if you come up with any cool and interesting, inspiring new tones based off of them. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please share the video with anybody who you think would want to take a look at it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I will be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. Ciao for now.